This Fox News alert for you now. President Trump will handle it. That stern warning coming from top U.S. officials as North Korea sends new threats of nuclear war. Greg Palcott joins us now from London with the latest. Good morning, Greg.
Good morning, Heather. That's right. Tough talk coming from the Trump administration about North Korea, coming specifically from National Security Advisor General H.R. McMaster. Speaking to Fox News on Sunday, he said, in fact, that the Trump administration will deal with any issues coming from Pyongyang. Take a listen.
If necessary, the president and the United States will have to take care of it because he said he's not going to allow this murderous rogue regime.
In your mind, what is the greatest threat to national security?
Well, I would say that as we look at the time horizon associated with threats, the greatest immediate threat to the United States and to the world is the threat posed by the rogue regime in North Korea and his continued efforts to develop a long-range nuclear capability. And so it's immensely important that we work together with all of our allies, partners, everyone internationally, to convince Kim Jong-un that the continued pursuit of these capabilities is a dead end for him and his regime.
A couple more things about North Korea, and we'll move around the world, if you would. Understanding that diplomacy is the preference here, obviously. Understanding that there are many military plans and options, there always are, for North Korea. Is there any military option that does not include the death of tens of thousands of South Koreans?
Well, we know for sure that this is what Kim Jong-un has done, right? Since 1950, right? Is held the population of South Korea hostage, right? Every provocation, every hostile act has originated from the North. He has in the past been able to do that, obviously with large conventional capability, all these artillery pieces and rockets and so forth that exist not too far north of Seoul.
Hundreds of them.
So, right, thousands of munitions and so forth. And so there's no military course of action that comes without risk. And that's why our alliance with South Korea, with Japan, those alliances are stronger than ever. What Kim Jong-un is doing is driving us closer and closer together and coalescing the international community against Kim Jong-un. If you think about what's happened just in recent months, and I think this ought to be something maybe we ought to provide a roll-up of, but countries across the globe have taken action beyond UN Security Council resolutions. First of all, South Korea and Japan are improving their defense capabilities at breakneck speed, and they're doing that in cooperation with us. We're doing that through joint bilateral exercises and multilateral exercises in Korea and elsewhere. But also we're doing it with improved defense capabilities. But what's been striking, I think, is how many nations have expelled North Korean diplomats who have ceased all economic relations with North Korea. This is from the Philippines to Thailand to Vietnam to Sudan to Brazil to Mexico. I mean, so many examples of countries who are acting beyond the UN Security Council resolutions and supporting all of our efforts to convince Kim Jong-un that this is a dead end, diplomatically and economically.
A couple more comments from General McMaster, Heather, also telling Fox that the president has told his team to move as quickly as possible to deal with the situation. Very fast-moving story. Back to you.
In response to the recent missile launch from up north, Seoul and Washington begin another combined drill. This one is the largest Air Force exercise to date and involves various wartime scenarios, including targeting the regime's key nuclear and missile facilities. Kim Hyun-bin starts us off with how the allies are speaking to Pyongyang using a language the Hermit Kingdom clearly and easily understand, a massive show of force.
Dozens of state-of-the-art American fighter jets, including F-22 Raptors and F-35s, are blazing across the skies surrounding the Korean peninsula. Their goal in this training exercise is to take out key North Korean nuclear facilities. Scores of fighter jets neutralize hostile threats while escorting bombers to their designated targets north of the border. The bombers drop their bombs, demolishing all targets. The simulation of a possible wartime scenario is part of the major Air Force exercise dubbed Vigilant Ace. It comes less than a week after North Korea launched its newly developed intercontinental ballistic missile. The 5-day exercise is the largest ever combined Air Force drill between the two allies, involving 230 warplanes and around 12,000 personnel.
The exercise is held annually. We hold it to enhance our joint operations capabilities.
6 F-22s and 6 F-35s have been deployed to the Korean peninsula, marking the first time the highly advanced jets have cruised the skies above Korea at the same time. Other U.S. assets include 2 B-1B bombers and 6 Growler electronic warfare jets, as well as dozens of F-15s and F-16s. South Korea has deployed 90 fighter jets, including its F-15 and F-A-50 fighters. North Korea condemned the drills on Sunday, saying they could lead to an all-out provocation that may lead to a nuclear war. Writing a commentary in North Korea's state-run Rodong Shinmun on Sunday, Pyongyang says such a drill is a dangerous provocation, as it's driving tensions on the Korean peninsula to the brink of a war, and that both South Korean and the U.S. puppet forces are foolish to run amok with such stealth fighters.
Going back to the combined air exercise, there has never been one of this scale before. The biggest and baddest weapons, including the F-22 Raptors, F-35 stealth fighters, are all being deployed. Our Kim Young-gil helps paint a clearer picture of the firepower involved.
The Lockheed Martin F-22 Raptor is a fifth-generation all-weather stealth tactical fighter jet capable of undertaking high-speed ground attacks, electronic warfare, and signal intelligence. The F-22 is designed to be highly difficult to detect and track by radar. It can carry 3 internal weapons in its fuselage and other missiles on its wings, such as air-to-surface and air-to-air weapons. The Raptor formally entered service in December 2005, each unit costing around $150 million. The Lockheed Martin F-35 is also an all-weather stealth multi-role fighter designed for ground attacks and air superiority missions. The F-35 can carry a total of 4 weapons in its internal bays. 2 can hold air-to-surface missiles and the other 2 can hold smaller weapons such as air-to-air missiles. The F-35 also has a low radar cross-section and uses radar-absorbent materials to increase its stealth. Built into the aircraft is an integrated electronic warfare system. F-35s were introduced in 2015 and cost from $95 to $120 million. The B-1B bomber supersonic jets have a top speed of Mach 1.2, making them the fastest bombers in the U.S. Air Force. They can hold up to 24 cruise missiles and have a greatly reduced radar signature, especially at low altitude. The B-1B has the addition of an improved radar jamming and deception system. Introduced in 1986, the cost of one unit is over $300 million. The F-15 is a staple of the U.S. Air Force. It's a twin-engine tactical fighter jet designed to gain and maintain air supremacy in aerial combat. As a smaller, lighter plane, the F-15 has better maneuverability and a top speed of over Mach 2. It can be armed with a variety of air weaponry on its fuselage and is capable of in-flight refueling and conducting deep interdiction missions. It was first introduced in 1976 and is by far the cheapest at around $30 million. Kim Young-gil, Arirang News.
The leaders of South Korea and the United States have reaffirmed their commitment to keep maximum pressure and sanctions on North Korea to bring the regime back to talks. That agreement came during an hour-long phone conversation between Presidents Moon Jae-in and Donald Trump, their second in 2 days since Pyongyang's missile launch in the early hours of Wednesday morning. Our chief Blue House correspondent Moon Gon-young reports.
2 phone calls in a row since North Korea's ICBM level test in the early hours of Wednesday. South Korean President Moon Jae-in and U.S. President Donald Trump, that is. Their second late Thursday night Korea time lasted for a whole 60 minutes, during which the two discussed the next steps to respond to the latest provocation following an initial evaluation of the North missile technology. It included ways to bring maximum pressure to bear on the rogue state. South Korean President Moon told his U.S. counterpart that while Pyongyang's latest missile launch reflects its most advanced technology so far, it still lacks critical technology that would actually make its nuclear missile weapons development complete.
President Moon Jae-in told his U.S. counterpart that although it's clear that the new missile is North Korea's most advanced so far, it still has some technical issues to settle, such as re-entry, terminal stage guidance, and warhead activation.
That's basically a rejection of the reclusive state's claim the day before that they have finally completed building the, quote, state nuclear force. Therefore, Moon added, the allies are still tasked with preventing North Korea from making any further advancements in its reckless campaign for nuclear and missile weapons and lead to dismantlement. To do so, the two leaders will continue to apply strong sanctions and pressure to bring the rogue regime to talks. The White House also made this point clear, saying the U.S. president is currently not focused on regime change in North Korea.
This administration is focused on one big thing when it comes to North Korea, and that's denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. That's our number one priority. That's what we're focused on. Anything beyond that is not the priority at this point.
The Blue House said President Trump also reiterated his endorsement for South Korea's enhancement of deterrence and defense capabilities by acquiring cutting-edge military assets. Some expect Pyongyang to finally pause its provocative testing program since it has declared that it's finally achieved a historic cause of completing nuclear weapons, while others remain skeptical, with Mr. Trump not having ruled out the military option just yet. But what could be a positive sign is the U.S. president's commitment to send a high-level delegation to Pyeongchang, South Korea, for the 2018 Winter Olympics set to kick off in just 70 days. Moon Go-young, Arirang News, The Blue House.